I'm going to title it PS5 Pro is pointless.
More of like unnecessary. It's not pointless.
Even more pointless than the PS5.
That's definitely. No, I'll save this for the.
We are entering 2024 with the persistent news that there's a PS5 Pro imminently about to be announced. It's been a persistent rumor all the way through 2023 as well. It's been something that people have actually assumed is going to happen right at the start of the gen. People, when the PS5 came out, when the Xbox Series X came out, people were already saying, "Nah, I'm going to wait for the Pro version to come out." And I remember thinking back then, there's not going to be a Pro version of these consoles. Are you mental? Like we can't even get them into shops. People can't buy them, right? You can't expect the same thing to happen because the conditions are totally different. You know, the PS4 generation was very long. It didn't have a pandemic. It had television technology completely changing halfway through. So all of a sudden, your PS4 looks shit on your new 55-inch 4K television because it's like half of its games run at fucking 900p or whatever, and now it looks like a smear, right? People at Sony and people at Xbox thought we need to like get in front of this and put out machines that can actually take advantage of these screens. But none of those things are a factor now. None of them. Nobody's going, you know what? I really wish there was a new PlayStation because it's getting really long in the tooth now. No, the PS5 hasn't even been out long enough to be worth buying, right? Even though they're now saying that the PS5 is coming to the end of its lifespan, which kind of makes sense chronologically. It has been out for 4 years now, but in practice is insane. It's been spinning its wheels the whole time. Naughty Dog haven't even announced a game for it. Look at him there, the smarmy little bastard, frolicking in a field of remaster cash instead of bothering his arse to make anything new. And apparently PS5 Pro is happening, and I'm baffled by it because, like, who's it for?
That's a very easy question to answer. See, your problem is, Jim, your problem is you are looking at this from a logical perspective, thinking like, well, the PS4 Pro existed because these reasons allowed for it to exist. No.
I do sound like that.
Yes, exactly. That's not the case. The PS5 Pro exists because they realized they can sell a chunk of the audience on the same console twice. So there's no harm in doing it, in the same way that there's no harm in having an iPad Pro and an iPad Pro Max, or there's no, iPhone Pro, and iPhone Pro Max. Do you really need an iPhone Pro as a normal person? No, but it's just a little bit extra. May as well go for it. Do you need an iPro Max? I mean, you have already paid for the Pro. May as well get the 1 inch or 2 inches a bigger screen. Yeah. They realized that a lot of us, especially us here in this, I guess, business, the enthusiasts tier, we're happy to pay for the console again. They looked at that and was like, okay, well, we're going to sell you a console. They absolutely know that the vast majority of people are going to have the base model. And they absolutely know that it's not quite as justifiable as it was in the PS4 Pro to the PS5 days. They know that there are games that still come out on PlayStation 4 right now. You know, you were just talking about the Prince of Persia game. And that's not to say that this is like some graphically intensive thing. But the point is, if you have a PS4 Pro, you just got a new game in January 2024. Those consoles came out at the end of 2013, right?
Yeah.
That's a new, fresh game that you could just buy and play today. And so many other games, like they're backporting Jedi Survivor, a game that ran like ass on the new consoles to the last gen consoles. So there's no pretense for logic here anymore. It's just like there is an opportunity to make a little bit more money on the suckers who are going to pay for this.
Yeah.
Why not just do it? It's like we're subsidizing our own investments in the next generation by just talking to AMD and saying, hey, could you give us a little bit of preview of RDNA 3? And then we'll have Mark Cerny cook up a 1-hour presentation that goes over the heads of everyone, and then be like, yeah, they have their own upscaling, they have their own deals. I'm very impressed by this. And then you get it and it's still running the same PS5 UI and it's going to be like, hey, you need to have double the space to patch this one game. And you're like, oh, right. Yes, the PlayStation. I remember now. And it's just like entirely justifiable from that perspective, Jim.
Can I ask a question? Just, I know that 3 people is not a great sample size for this sort of question, but of everyone here, has anyone ever like upgraded mid-generation their consoles? Because I say I never have. But the thing is, until this gen, I only ever waited until the sort of pro part of the previous gens because I didn't work in games media then.
Yeah.
But like my Nintendo Switch is base, and I've never been tempted to like. Sometimes it's running things a little clunky now. I'm actually not allowed to review Nintendo games anymore because they insist you don't review them on a base Switch.
Yeah, Kelsey runs up again in that problem all the time.
Yeah, I bought a PS4 Pro. I bought the Series. The Xbox One X.
It always catches people out. Don't worry. Worst naming scheme of all time.
Don't like the PlayStation ecosystem or its UI or its outdated this and that. But I can tell you that probably I'm going to look at it and think, if I sell mine for this much money and then I put that rest on a credit card and I'll pay it over 3 months or whatever, I'm not going to feel it. And then I will just be like, I just have the best version of Spider-Man or whatever game that they're going to try to use to sell me on this. Probably, but yes, I have done before and I probably will do it again.
I've done it specifically once.
Oh, that's interesting. What for?
Yeah, from a launch PS4 to a Pro.
Okay.
So I've done it that one time.
It's good to know because my next question was like, did you trade in presumably your base models? And,
of course.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like the fact that I tend to get very attached to things. Like I still have all of my PlayStations back to the PS2, which is when I first got one, like in my house, even though I haven't used the PS2 or the PS3 in years, but I still.
But it's still going to play the same games, though. It's not like you're losing. Like it's like a PC in that sense, where it's like I'm still going to have my Steam library.
Exactly.
That's
I guess
true.
It's kind of weird to me because like I am here partly today as the sort of voice of the different perspective of the PlayStation liker. I do obviously quite like PlayStation.
But you're going to say voice of reason then.
No, I would never go so far as to call it as the voice of reason. But I think of the 3 of us, I am probably the most attached to PlayStation as a platform.
I would say so, yeah.
But the whole PS5 Pro thing, like the only thing that this news has done to me is be like, do I now regret the fact, because I've only had my PS5 for, pandemic brain, I can't remember if it's a year or 2 years, but it took me ages to get one.
Yeah.
I did the whole like waiting in queues online.
I mean that's pretty early on then. That's like when it was still like difficult to, because you can walk into Smith's Toys now and they've got like stacks of them. Last time I was in Smith's Toys, actually, the person at the checkout was like, "Can I tempt you with a PS5?"
No way. I would have loved that to happen back in 2021, 22 when I was trying to go. It must have been like spring 2022 that I managed to get one. So obviously like I'd been checking it out since I started working here. The previous time I worked here, which was early 2021. So it took me like a year, over a year of looking and like 6 months of quite seriously trying to get one. And it feels really soon to even be thinking about upgrading. Like I feel like I've only just got it.
I think you're right. Like spring 2022, that's probably like, I mean, I was going to say the tail end of the stock issues, but it wasn't. It was still like very much
still ongoing. Yeah. But I remember it's like, there's a nostalgic moment almost, even though it was like a horrible thing when you think about it from the point of view of like rampant capitalism and supply issues during the pandemic. But I still have quite fond memories of like my partner coming downstairs and me going, I got one, I finally got us a PS5, because we've both been like stock checking for 6 months or whatever, and we were both really excited.
I've been an early adopter on the PS5 literally from day one when nobody could fucking get them. And even I feel like that thing's not been out long enough.
That's a good point. From my point of view, the PS5 generation started like 2 years later than it actually did. But between the sort of like the kind of affection I have for the memories of getting a PS5 and like the fact that I've only just had the bloody thing, like my only question for myself now is, as I say, do I regret not waiting an extra 2 years and getting the Pro? And on balance, I guess it's no. I largely do really like the PS5. I've recently upgraded to a new TV, which makes what you're saying earlier very interesting to me. And I've run into a couple of issues because I was running it on an 11-year-old TV that was barely HDMI capable, let alone having any of the the 4K resolution or whatever that the PS5 is obviously geared towards. And it's kind of showing up like some of the weaknesses of the base console Graphically, that maybe will be resolved in the Pro, but not enough that I'm going to go to the effort after all this. After all I went through to trade it in for a PS5 Pro.
Finally getting the sword out of the stone, and then somebody goes, "We got guns now. If you wanna trade that in." Like, no, I spent all no. I think that's interesting that you had like a sort of a 2-year delay in getting one. You feel like you're missing that kind of like basically the 2 years of the experience is gone. So you feel like it's like, well, I've only had this thing for 18 months. Surely it's not. And I feel like that just because that console generation, Xbox as well, not just PlayStation, just felt like it's been spooling up and spinning its wheels basically for that whole time. It's only now that I feel like, okay, it is actually worth owning a PS5 now, but it hasn't been the case for like most of its life. Which
I think they will definitely have a harder time selling this one. I don't think they're going to go 8K because no one cares about 8K. No, so I think they're going to have to figure out some sort of gimmick or some sort of reason to get normal people to care about it, even if they may not end up buying it. Because like you were saying, we, like the people in our stratosphere, are going to buy it regardless. But I feel like it's going to be interesting to see what they lean on to try and be like, you want this, or here is a reason you might want this. Before it was the change in TV tech and stuff. There's nothing quite like that now. So I don't know what, like, that'll be interesting from like an academic sense to see, okay, what's Mark Cerny going to talk about this year?
Yeah. Is he going to put out another ASMR video? I swear that Mark Cerny fucking thing where he spends 20 minutes talking in a really calm, relaxing voice about SSD, like data rate fucking limits, etc. It genuinely hit a lot of this sounds terrible. Like, I subscribe to a lot of ASMR channels.
Really?
And on Reddit and so, I fucking love it. Like, it's like for a long time it was the only thing I could get to sleep with. People whispering shite in my ear about fucking beads or whatever.
I love that one. Sorry.
There's a split in the ASMR community between unintentional and like, intentional ASMR, and a lot of people contend that unintentional ASMR is the pure, like the real, that's when you get to the source and it's like, it's not intended, it's just somebody doing something really compelling and really relaxing. And it's like the accidental element of it is part of the magic. And when somebody goes out of their way to do ASMR, it kind of ruins it because it's too try hard. And I get it. I enjoy both, but I get where they're coming from. Way too much information for most people. But that Mark Cerny video genuinely hit a lot of the unintentional ASMR channels. People who don't give a shit about video games were watching that because it was relaxing. Like, it's genuinely one of those things where because he has such a very relaxing way about him.
Yes.
And everything he's talking about is so. It's a very weird way to introduce a console to the world, right? Because you think of PlayStation and you think, Tomb Raider and fucking like Last of Us and God of War and guns and post-apocalypse, and you think of like, Twisted Metal and clowns and cars but this guy is just talking very calmly about technical stuff that nobody cares about.
Our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should translate into something like 100 times faster I/O than PS4 and allow the dream of no load screens and super fast streaming to become a reality.
It was ASMR gold, and I still watch that video to this day to get to sleep every now and then. Genuinely. So I really hope they do another really incongruous advert with Mark Cerny.
Was there the CGI audience members that they had in front of the camera?
It was pandemic,
like 3 or 4, and they had to make them move a little bit to convince you that it's not like cardboard cutout, which is like unnecessary, but okay, fine, sure, whatever. You don't even need any of that. I understand that you're in a studio and it's dependent. You don't even need like the 3 weird silhouettes.
You don't need to pretend that you're in, like, it's fine. Like, we get it.
What a bizarre everything about this, like Jim Ryan introducing. Jim Ryan it's a whole, you could write a whole chapter about him just in general.
Yeah.
Glad where you won't have to think about him ever again.
Least favorite Geordie.
It's just, what a bizarre show. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What if the whole legacy of the PS5 generation ends up being some of the best ASMR content?
I think we can. I'm going to write that article. Like, I think you can make. I can make that argument.
It's Mark Cerny normalizing really deep dive tech presentations to an audience who was like, "What? What did he say? What?
The best ASMR is Mark Cerny talking about SSD data rates and Indian guys reviewing phone cases. That's it. That's the best ASMR. Rebecca, the Pokemon anime situation is been getting your goat recently because
I am distressed. I'm distressed because Pokemon TV is shutting down.
Yeah.
They announced it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
At the time of recording. And it's going to go offline. The app is going offline on the 28th of March, I believe. Should I just quickly explain what Pokemon TV is? People who don't know, because I'm seeing Sharif looking a little concerned.
Yes. I just did 10 minutes on ASMR. Yeah, go for it.
So Pokemon TV is an app that's available, I think, on mobile platforms and the Nintendo Switch, which is basically just like a streaming platform, but for the Pokemon anime exclusively, obviously run by Nintendo, and it's free. It doesn't have all of the stuff on there, but they tend to rotate stuff in and out, so you could like watch the whole of Pokemon on it over time if you were like careful to keep an eye on what was going away and what was coming in. While now, it's been my kind of go-to lunch break TV, just like slowly going over mostly just the older stuff that I watched when I was a kid, but it does have, it has a lot of the newer seasons on there as well. And I was like, brilliant, this is great. I can just at my own pace catch up on this, 1,000-odd episode anime that I am genuinely still really interested in.
Perfect lunchtime tally as well.
Big Kid is so good as lunchtime TV.
Perfect, yeah.
And now I find out that I've got 2 and a bit months to finish season 2, and because these are anime seasons, they are long.
Yeah.
And then it goes behind a paywall, which is another possibly even more contentious aspect of this, because ultimately Pokemon TV is an app. It was lovely to have. And it was just like so cool that it was completely free.
The minute you said it's free, it all made sense. Because that's not like it does. Yes.
Exactly.
I was like, why would you shut this down? It's like a dedicated thing. It's like, oh, it was free on Switch.
It was like a very sweet little gift from Nintendo. And I guess it is being withdrawn because nobody wants to give anything away for free, even if it's like probably not too costly to run, but it's giving nothing back directly. So I can see why the argument to keep it going would be troublesome. Obviously, I'm sad about it, but all good things must come to an end. And we know this, like nothing is permanent. But the thing that bugs me about it is that it's now being split. The anime is going to be split across 8 streaming services, 7 of which are paid.
So dumb.
And it's so frustrating because I've got it open on my other screen here to just look at. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it is incomprehensible and so
I'm sure Jim will put this in the edit, but this thing is. I saw this and thought, oh, well, this is a funny meme.
Right? People thought it was a meme.
And I feel like if there's any single image to exemplify all of our exhaustion about like all the streaming wars and all, it would be that image. Where you would just show that and just put it on a sign, just pick it like around with it and be just like, end this. Just get rid of this.
That's the wider issue, really, isn't it? Because I mean, like, one thing about this graphic that they've given to explain it is it's not even in chronological order, so working out what you need is so frustrating. But so season 1 is on Netflix. Season 2 is on Prime Video, but a channel that you need to subscribe to for extra money within Prime Video.
Yes.
Seasons 3 to 5, Prime Video, but just like the basic subscription. I can't even, where is season 6? Season 6 to 9 also Prime Video, whereas 7 Freevee apparently has 6 through 9, so there's a bit of overlap.
That is also Prime Video, but a free add-on subscription to Prime Video.
I mean, I get it. Okay, as I say, it's sad to me that they sort of spun up this app that was a really cool idea and are ending it, I think, before its time. But it does make sense to me because, again, there's like zero profit to be had off the app itself.
Why not just make like?
But why not at least sell it?
Exactly, like put it all on Pokemon TV, but say, okay, it's no longer free. It's now this much money per month.
Yeah.
And just call it. Like, what's the problem?
It's also giving me like a weird sense of angst because obviously this is targeted at American audiences, right? This infographic. So as a Brit, I'm sat here like I don't think we can even get Hulu here. It's certainly never been presented to me as an option. So that's season 17 to 19 I maybe can't get. I do not know what Tubi is. Hoopla? I don't know. So
now you're just making
I'm just making mouth noises.
What the hell is a hoopla?
Exactly.
Like, let me check the new episodes of this show on hoopla.
Is that like a hootenanny? Or like...
And experience has taught me that there is a pretty good chance that English-speaking audiences who aren't in the US have been completely like not even considered in the, you know, how they're going to distribute it in English, because so many people assume that, you know, English-speaking audiences in the US is synonymous, which is...
So all of these things keep making very compelling argument for just staking to the high seas.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to admit to that, but I will say that as soon as I saw Oisin telling us that Pokemon TV was shut down, I was like, right, just like out of interest, how much for the Blu-rays of the seasons that I'm really interested in? Because it's like the drive back to physical media. Even now, I'm looking at like secondhand Blu-rays on eBay. So yeah, it's a very weird time to be a fan of anything, basically, that has a digital distribution platform. But we've been seeing this for years, right? Netflix used to be the go-to app, and then it, you know, you started off with a Netflix account, and then you got Amazon Prime, and then you got like Disney Plus, obviously, is another big one, and like Now TV in the UK, and Shudder, which I actually think is probably the best one for being targeted and cheap. But you know,
Shudder's got loads of good stuff on it.
Yeah, I really like Shudder. It's doing a thing. It's doing it well. That's another conversation. But yeah, like props to Shudder for aiming small and doing it well.
Yeah, like a cheap niche streaming service seems like the way to go. Yeah.
I'd have paid $5 for Pokemon TV every money, probably, like I do with Shudder. Yeah,
they could have done that though. It just seems like a straightforward. Maybe they will once the rights expire.
Fucking $2.99. Like, they've already made the fucking cartoons. Like,
or like, there's so many things that you could be doing to monetize. Like, you know, as an extra kind of. I get loads of stuff thrown at me because I have a Nintendo online subscription, and like the little incentives you get to go up to the next level just never quite catch me. If you put Pokemon TV in the next level, you would get me like probably to subscribe at the next tier. And it's just, there's so many options, and it's just to just nuke it and leave it scattered across 8 platforms is so weird. It's another little tangent, but like getting the Spider-Man films onto Disney Plus, that was a whole saga, wasn't it? Because like rights in this situation are so nebulous and strange, and
because some prick at Marvel fucking sold the family jewels 30 years ago, and now everyone's got a like.
It's now scattered, I think, because the Sam Raimi ones are on Netflix, and the terrible Andrew Garfield one are as well, but not the new ones, though they're on Disney Plus. I think that's how it works out.
And I think isn't Into the Spider-Verse on Netflix?
Oh, I forgot about Into the Spider-Verse.
It's on Disney Plus now. Because I saw the new Spider-Verse one, and I really wanted to see the new Spider-Verse one, and I was like, it'll be ages until that comes out in like streaming or whatever. But now it's on one, and I think it's on Plus. And I was like, it's a very stupid and ridiculous situation that we're all in now, where, as you say, like Netflix came along and it was like, well, this is an end to piracy because it's all there, and then it wasn't all there. And as you say, even with like every single franchised sort of thing is now like facing this, like obviously, like I'm going to talk about Star Trek now because it reminded me of that situation.
You're going to go off on the whole Netflix, Paramount, Amazon thing, because I am with you. Jim. I am with you there.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like how Netflix were funding the like Star Trek's return essentially, and it was all on Netflix, and that was great. And then, I mean, I know these things are like subject to like, you know, legal and backroom deals and all this other stuff, but just talking about it as a consumer, it was all on Netflix, and that was fucking great. And then it wasn't, and then if you love Star Trek, like the idea of Paramount Plus happening and them literally saying this is where all the Star Trek is now. You'd have to, like, you know, give us $7.99 a month and all the Star Trek is here. And I think, great, brilliant. And now it's like, actually, some of the films are missing. And that cartoon that we were making that's really good, we're dropping that. And if you're in the UK...
What cartoon, Lower Decks?
No, not Lower Decks, Prodigy.
Oh. Okay, I was about to say, please don't say anything.
I was like, wasn't that big ass Lower Decks that I was looking?
Like, Lower Decks is like... doing really well for them, thankfully.
Good.
But no, Prodigy, I was really enjoying Prodigy. Kids show, but also like a quasi Voyager sequel. Brilliant. And I watched the first season of that and loved every second. It gets cancelled by Paramount Plus before season 2 comes out. And then season 1 just drops from Paramount Plus entirely. and is now on Netflix. So fucking Netflix has Star Trek again, and season 2 is going on Netflix.
So much. There was a particularly brutal time in my life because I'm a Star Trek fan and also an MCU fan.
Yeah.
And it was all on Netflix, and then Disney Plus goes up, takes all of the MCU stuff that Netflix, obviously was, creating with Netflix money partly as well as Disney money, and then all of the Star Trek stuff goes first to Amazon and then Paramount. And it was like, that was so much of what I had Netflix for, was the fact that two of the big franchises that I really into were, not only being hosted, but also being developed on that platform. And then it's just wild.
Can you still watch like the Netflix produced Marvel shows?
Well, most of them are on Disney Plus now, but they have started like doing the thing where they rotate out some stuff. Like one of my favorite Marvel series is The Runaways. Which was a weird one to get in the UK anyway, but it was out for a while. But they've just that's just Disney Plus had it and then got rid of it, and now it's nowhere, and there was never a physical release. So like one of my favorite shows of the last decade is just like gone now until they decide to do something with it.
And I mean, they removed the show that they produced and exclusively distributed.
It's so annoying as well, because it's like, this isn't the BBC in the mid-60s and we're having to erase Doctor Who so we can tape the news or whatever. Like, I can go to like Amazon and buy another fucking terabyte hard drive for 30 quid if I run out of space, right? Like, It's a different world now. There's no good reason to be just getting rid of stuff and for stuff to just be not available to anyone. It's just lawyer nonsense and rubbish.
I feel like we've talked about this so much, and it's been a really great venting experience. Thank you so much for letting me come and do this. Unfortunately, it's like there's no solution from our level.
Wait until Paramount merges with HBO, so you can see it on Max, the home for HBO and Paramount now, so that we can just get like our cards stamped.
But you say there's no solution from a user level. The solution from a user level, Sharif alluded to earlier.
I'm telling you, man.
and I alluded to buying a big hard drive.
Raise the flag.
So, yeah.
I thought I got out of the pirate life.
we did. We straightened out, and they took advantage of us. Just tip the scales back, and it'll be like, oh no.
As long as we're talking in vagaries, never again. They're never fooling me again. That's it now.
Even if you just did it for the classic catalog, not for the new stuff, that would still, I feel like, cause enough damage for them to reconsider. Like I'm just going to do this for the old Star Trek. I'm not going to do this for new the Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks or any of that stuff. I'm just going to do it for up to and including maybe the first season of Discovery.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then just be like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to watch this for now.
Yeah, we're here becoming the Futurama meme. It's like, shut up and take my money. Just let me own a copy of this that I can watch whenever I want. That's all I want.
I want to be a legitimate consumer, and I want to pay money to enjoy stuff. Like, because that, in theory, should be the path of least resistance. But
exactly,
they've actually made it more difficult to be a legitimate consumer, which of course I am, because I would never do anything illegitimate. It doesn't make sense.
That should never be the way anything runs. I know that there's got to be legal and economic implications that we can't really guess at behind the scenes, but it should never be more difficult to do things legitimately.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think we're at the stage of it getting worse before it gets better.
I absolutely agree, which is really unfortunate.
Which is it's just the cycle of things.
And speaking of things that aren't going to get better, despite having had a chance to.
What a segue.
No, I would have probably went with the speaking of stupid misses. I don't think that was gonna get better. I'm sorry.
Well, look, Suicide Squad was revealed, and then everyone said, "Well, that you have really fucked this into a wall. What are you doing?" And they were like, "We hear you. You're not going to hear about this for months because we're now beavering away on fixing it." And
read the room. I was like, even if what you're offering is good, but there's plenty of it already existing, no one's going to care. 15 years ago, if you had said, we're making a Suicide Squad game, but it's also kind of an RPG where you get loot, to be like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because that would be novel at the time. But you can do this now in 2024, and every game has gear system, and every game has build variety, every game has elemental stats on the gear, and gear scores and numbers going up, but we are also doing this with superheroes or supervillains. It's like, get in line, of course you're doing this. what if you did something different? Like right now, and I feel like we're coming full circle on this. Right now, games that are more linear, that don't have RPG elements, not only are advertising that, they're using it as a selling point because they know people will resonate with that. Assassin's Creed Mirage was like, oh, this is a short game, no RPG, no this, guys, relax, listen, right? And you might call it like, well, this is cynical marketing, but the point is they know what they have done and they know that they can play to the other side as well. And if you put out a game today and say, oh, this is just a game that you finish in 15 hours, it's not, we don't have it's just a game.
I feel like Suicide Squad might be the worst before it gets better of that situation, because
quite possibly. Yeah. I do think that as Drew said, we're seeing the trend move away from it slowly, but
I don't think it's going to get any high profile than that, because I don't know, like Rocksteady took 10 years. This is between Arkham Knight and this, it's been 10 years.
That's fucking depressing.
Right? Obviously they were working on stuff that got cancelled.
You already fucked the Arkham series by making it too big. Like you already, and you put a car in it. Right?
As someone who still thinks it's the best one of those, which is a controversial opinion.
It's not the way it, Sharif.
I think it is. I think it realized the power fantasy of Batman more than any of the other games. I understand all the criticisms, and I might even agree with them, but I think the
first one is the best power fantasy of Batman, because the Batman power fantasy is going to a hospital and battering people. Just kicking the shit out of people who are literally not well.
The one saving grace that I will say is that everyone seems to be praising the narrative, which has always been a strength of Rocksteady's.
Well, this is where you get a talented studio being basically forced to make a really terrible game, and you get all these glimpses of really good stuff that deserves to be in a better game. But
it's like you just described like Redfall as well, and like so many games that I was really hyped for and then came out and was like, oh no.
Anthem. Remember BioWare?
Yeah.
There've been so many of these.
It seems like these kinds of games like kill their studios. I feel like, and I'm worried for Rocksteady.
Talking about that sort of being the kind of the nadir before things start improving, before corporations notice that this stuff just isn't a money spinner anymore. I saw a PowerPoint for a game that I won't mention because obviously it's NDA'd to hell and everything, but an upcoming game. And one of the big selling points, and these are materials that are put together to show like CEOs and shareholders and people whose only concern is how am I going to get a return on my investment. So and this really played up. This document really played up like this game is only 25 hours long, and it was one of the big kind of like, there's no grind, there's no bloat. It's like,
that's a selling point. Yeah. It's a legitimate selling point. If you tell me that, like, my first thing I do when I start a new game is go on howlongtobeat.com and be like, right, how much time do I need to carve out of my month essentially to get this game played?
Absolutely.
And like, especially as adults who, I mean, like, may not be proportionally represented all the time in the numbers of people playing, but we've probably got more money to actually buy the platforms in the game. Can I just quickly soapbox on something related to Suicide Squad at this moment? Whenever these games come out, Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, Redfall, all of it, all I want, speaking as an adult who plays a lot of video games, is when you're like, oh, co-op, I'm like, brilliant. And then you're like, online only. And I'm like, I don't want to play with a random 15-year-old online. I want to play with my partner. Just split screen. Split screen would get me to buy your like very 5 out of 10 game if I could just hang out with my partner for a bit and play.
But what about if you could play it with 3 other AI companions instead of 3 other idiots from somewhere else in the world?
Honestly, the AI is probably better than the randos online, but I would just really like to be like, because I'm not buying like another system so that my partner can go upstairs and play on the TV in the bedroom and I can be downstairs on the TV in the living room.
Well, what if you got to ignore your partner and instead play this with a 15-year-old racist from Kentucky?
Exactly.
It's the age-old, like, it's a dichotomy. So I really hope that things are going to get better. It does seem that there is a lot of movement now on, as we've pointed out, games being literally advertised on the strength of not taking forever. Such a turnaround. I remember it wasn't that long ago where games like, how many hours of gameplay is this? Was a big kind of like, this has got 300 hours of gameplay, and the map is 500 square miles, and people would be
they
like,
started
wow, that's
selling
great.
this game saying it's twice as big as Arkham Asylum or Arkham City. I was like, all right, you're on the right track with this one already. Guys. Like, I can see it. You started already with the size comparison. Like, next you're gonna be like,
it's like, guys,
the build variety, man. I was like, yep. And they super did talk about the build variety in that recent preview.
Guys, you're gonna love it. Our game's so bloated.
Like, I love build variety my King Shark. Love it.
Just unbelievable.
Oh god,
there's a Harley Quinn cartoon series that is wonderful.
I love it.
It's
I love
brilliant,
that so
isn't
much.
it, right? It's
I just
so
finished
good.
season 4, which has just come on in the UK. So good.
Yeah.
Someone was talking to me like saying you should enjoy this because it was the lady from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, like Kaylee Cuoco.
Kaylee Cuoco.
And she's really good as her.
I mean, she's on the show as well. She's doing like she does a wonderful job on that show.
It's been 4 years or probably more. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It is a great show.
And King Shark's in it as well. Very good King Shark in that show.
Yeah, a great, like, probably one of the definitive King Sharks because he's really relatable. Like, if you're like, if you really want like a Suicide Squad fix, just watch that. Like, honestly, it's incredibly entertaining, and it's 20-minute episodes, and nobody's expecting you to like have to fucking do a character build or whatever.
Zero numbers coming out of people.
No numbers coming out of anyone. Like that, you can, and you can eat a sandwich while it's on. Anyway, all right. There's no time to do anything apart from to say please like and subscribe, etc. This show is obviously designed to be clipped out on TikTok and stuff. And if you want this show in bite-sized segments, subscribe to us on TikTok. Just search for VG247 on TikTok. We're there. We're everywhere, really. I think we should probably just like can the Twitter account at this point now because I
feel like that'll happen naturally.
Yeah,
for everybody. It's gonna just wake up one day and be like, I don't like this anymore.
That's kind of my feeling about Twitter as well. I'll keep going because it's going to stop soon. So I might as well just hang in there.
Write it out.
It'll just collapse one day, right? People try to log in and it'll be gone, and everyone will be like, "Oh my god,
exactly.
I'm finally
Did you
free."
come back from this? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'll miss the Pokemon TV app more.
So but follow us everywhere you can find us, and we'll be back next week with more things that are. This is just like stuff that's getting on our wick at that particular moment in time, innit? But that's what all podcasts are. Yeah, it's cathartic. It's cathartic, just like a mushroom. Anyway, all right. Thanks very much, everyone. Everyone wave. Bye.
Bye. Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. I started talking about Big the Cat and how he's no good, and everybody said, Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. I started talking about and how he's no good, and everybody said, Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. Jim, you're right. Jim, you're wrong.